Happiness isn't something you chase, it's something you create. It doesn't live in a perfect future, it breathes in the present moment. Every choice, every thought, every response writes the story of your joy. The real question is, are you building your happiness, or waiting for it? Happiness is not found in perfection, it begins when you stop waiting for life to be flawless. Too often, we trick ourselves into believing that joy will finally arrive when everything aligns exactly as we imagine. We think we'll feel fulfilled once we get the perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect house, or the perfect version of ourselves. But life has its own way of reminding us that perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target, a dream that constantly shifts as soon as we think we've caught it. The truth is, waiting for perfection is the fastest way to rob yourself of the joy that is already available. If you pause and reflect, you'll realize that no moment in life has ever been flawless, yet joy has always been possible within it. Real happiness comes when you accept that life is messy, unpredictable, and full of imperfections. The rain will fall on days you wish for sunshine. People will disappoint you even when you gave them your trust. Plans will fall apart despite your best efforts. If you condition your happiness on flawless circumstances, you'll forever live in disappointment because the world doesn't bend to perfection. What you can do, however, is choose to see beauty in the imperfect, meaning in the broken, and peace in the unexpected. When you shift your perspective this way, you stop chasing a fantasy and start experiencing life as it really is. Raw, imperfect, but profoundly meaningful. Think about it. Some of the best memories you hold in your heart weren't perfect at all. Maybe the vacation where it rained every day turned out to be the one where you laughed the most with your loved ones. Maybe the dinner that didn't go as planned became a story you still tell with joy. Maybe the heartbreak you thought would destroy you led you to discover your strength. The magic of life is not in its perfection, but in its ability to surprise, to teach, and to grow you in ways you never expected. Happiness is hidden in the cracks, in the little flaws, in the unpolished moments that remind you of what it means to be alive. When you stop waiting for perfection, you give yourself permission to be present. You no longer delay joy until someday arrives. You begin to realize that happiness is not a destination but a state of being available here and now. It's not about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is fine. It's about embracing life with all its rough edges and still choosing gratitude, still choosing peace. Perfection demands that conditions be flawless, but happiness simply asks that you be open. We live in a culture that worships perfection. Social media shows us curated lives that look spotless, as if everyone else is living in flawless happiness while we stumble through chaos. But comparison blinds us to truth. Behind every perfect picture is a struggle we can't see. Behind every smile is a story of pain, lessons, and resilience. When you realize that nobody's life is perfect, not even the ones you admire, you free yourself from the trap of comparison. You start to honor your own journey with all its unique twists, scars, and lessons. The pursuit of perfection creates anxiety, but the acceptance of imperfection creates peace. Imagine living each day knowing you don't need to control everything to be happy. Imagine letting go of the pressure to perform, to prove, to polish every detail. Happiness grows when you release that burden and simply allow yourself to live. The crooked path, the broken pieces, the missed opportunities, they don't disqualify you from joy. They prepare you to value it more deeply when you choose it. So stop waiting. Stop saying, "I'll be happy when." Stop chasing the illusion that everything must align perfectly before you give yourself permission to smile. Life is happening right now, in the ordinary, in the flawed, in the unfinished. Happiness is not hidden in perfection. It's alive in the way you choose to see this moment. If you dare to embrace imperfection, you'll discover that happiness was never missing. It was waiting for you all along. Your response shapes your happiness. Joy comes from how you see, think, and react, not from circumstances. Life will always present challenges, difficulties, and moments that feel unfair, but happiness is never determined by what happens to you. It is shaped by how you interpret and respond to what happens. Two people can go through the same storm, but one may collapse under its weight while the other finds strength in the struggle. The difference is not in the storm itself, but in the mindset and response of the individual. Happiness is not the absence of struggle, it is the ability to maintain peace, resilience, and clarity in the middle of struggle. When you begin to master your reactions, you discover that happiness is not fragile or fleeting. It is steady because it no longer depends on things you cannot control. Your perspective is powerful. If you see obstacles only as punishments, you will live bitter and resentful. But if you see them as lessons, as opportunities to grow, you create room for happiness even in difficulty. Think about it. When a door closes, you can choose to cry over it forever, or you can choose to trust that a better one is opening. That choice is the difference between despair and hope breeds happiness. The truth is your mind can either become a prison or a place of freedom. The same situation that breaks one person can build another. It all comes down to response to the inner story you tell yourself. Circumstances will change constantly. One moment you may be in abundance, the next in lack. One moment people may support you, the next they may turn against you. If your happiness is tied to external conditions, you will forever live on a roller coaster. But when your happiness is anchored in how you choose to think and respond, it becomes unshakable. This is why people who have less sometimes smile more than those who have everything. It's not about possessions or positions. It's about perception. They've trained themselves to find light in dark places. The power of response is also about emotional discipline. When someone insults you, you cannot always stop their words, but you can decide whether those words will enter your heart or bounce away. When plans fall apart, you cannot always control the timing, but you can control whether you crumble or rise stronger. Happiness comes when you stop giving your emotions away to everything outside of you. No person, no circumstance, no rejection should have the power to dictate your joy unless you hand it over. Protecting your response is protecting your happiness. This doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending problems don't exist. It means feeling them fully, but then choosing the response that preserves your peace instead of destroys it. It means choosing patience instead of anger, gratitude instead of bitterness, hope instead of despair. These choices are not always easy, but they are always possible. And every time you make the right choice, you build a stronger foundation of happiness within yourself. Over time, it becomes natural. You begin to see challenges differently, setbacks differently, even people differently. You stop reacting and start responding. Happiness, then, is less about what you are going through and more about who you are becoming through it. When you respond with wisdom instead of weakness, joy instead of jealousy, peace instead of panic, you rise above your circumstances. You discover a power within yourself that no situation can steal. The storms will come, but they will not sink you. The winds will blow, but they will not break you. Because your response, not your circumstances, is the true author of your happiness. And once you master that truth, you realize happiness has always been in your hands. Happiness is not an accident, nor is it a fleeting gift that arrives only when life is perfect. It is something that is shaped, molded, and cultivated through the habits we carry into our daily lives. Far too often, people believe happiness is the result of major achievements, a dream job, financial success, or the perfect relationship. But the truth is, happiness is built in the smallest details of our routines. The way you begin your morning, the thoughts you nurture, the words you speak to yourself, and the energy you carry through your day all play a role in how joyful or heavy your life feels. These are not random choices but repeated actions, and every repeated action creates wiring in your brain that shapes your emotions and your perspective on life. The human mind is designed to adapt, and it adapts most strongly to repetition. Just as negativity becomes second nature when practiced daily through complaining, comparison, or self-doubt, happiness too becomes natural when you make gratitude, patience, and awareness part of your regular behavior. Consider gratitude. When you intentionally take a moment each day to recognize what you already have, you begin to train your mind to focus on abundance instead of lack. Instead of waking up dreading what's missing, you wake up noticing what's present. Over time, this simple shift rewires your brain to see possibilities rather than problems, hope instead of despair, and beauty instead of flaws. Gratitude is not just a polite act, it is mental training for joy. Patience is another habit that silently builds happiness. We live in a culture of urgency where everything must happen now and success is expected instantly. But impatience is a thief. It robs you of peace in the present moment because you are always fixated on what has not yet arrived. Practicing patience teaches you to slow down, to respect the timing of life, and to find calmness even when things are not moving as fast as you desire. A patient person suffers less because they accept that growth takes time, healing takes time, and dreams require persistence. With patience, you stop fighting life's natural rhythm and start flowing with it. That flow creates less stress, less frustration, and more peace, the foundation of real happiness. Awareness ties it all together. To be aware is to step back and notice your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions instead of being controlled by them. Awareness allows you to catch yourself in the middle of negative spirals and redirect your focus toward what uplifts rather than what drags you down. For example, awareness lets you notice when envy begins to creep in as you scroll through social media, and instead of letting it poison your spirit, you pause and reframe your perspective. You tell yourself, their success does not diminish mine. My path is unfolding at its own pace. That small moment of awareness saves you from unnecessary suffering. Happiness is not found in ignoring reality but in consciously choosing how you relate to it. When gratitude, patience, and awareness are practiced consistently, they no longer feel forced. They become natural patterns of thought. guiding you automatically toward peace and joy. That is the power of habits. They shape your identity without needing constant effort once they are ingrained. Think of happiness like a garden. If you want it to flourish, you cannot plant seeds once and walk away. You water them daily, pull out the weeds, and give them sunlight. Gratitude waters the seeds, patience removes the weeds, and awareness ensures you don't forget where the garden is. Day by day, the garden grows, and what once felt like hard work becomes second nature. So if you are waiting for a grand event to make you happy, you will wait forever. The secret is in the little things you repeat, the practices you choose every morning and every night. Happiness is not built in a day, but it is built every day. And the more you honor these small habits, the more they will rewire your mind into a state of lasting peace and joy. Happiness is not luck. It is a lifestyle you practice until it becomes who you are. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in shaping happiness because it shifts the lens through which you see life. Most people are conditioned to focus on what's missing, what's lacking, or what hasn't gone their way. That mindset breeds frustration, envy, and a constant feeling of inadequacy. But when you choose gratitude, you redirect your attention toward what is already present, already working, already beautiful. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that even in difficulty, there are blessings, lessons, and opportunities to appreciate. It trains your mind to look for light, even when shadows surround you. The moment you start to notice the little things, a smile, a meal, a safe space, a helping hand, you begin to realize that life is never as empty as it feels when you only focus on lack. Gratitude transforms perception, and perception transforms experience. When you practice gratitude daily, you teach your mind to see abundance in the ordinary. A person without gratitude could live in a palace and still feel poor, always comparing themselves with someone who has more. But a grateful person could live with little and still feel rich, because they know how to value what they have. The truth is, your external situation does not dictate your happiness as much as your perspective does. Two people can go through the same storm, one bitter, one thankful, and their experiences will be completely different. Gratitude doesn't change the storm, but it changes how you walk through it. It softens your heart, strengthens your resilience, and helps you keep hope alive when everything seems uncertain. Even in hardship, gratitude is the anchor that keeps you steady. Life will always bring challenges, losses, and moments of pain. Gratitude doesn't deny those realities, but it gives them meaning. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" a grateful heart asks, "What can I learn from this? What is this trying to teach me?" That simple shift in language changes suffering into growth. It doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it into wisdom, endurance, and clarity. Gratitude allows you to extract value even from the hardest seasons. In this way, it doesn't just transform your perspective, it transforms you. Another gift of gratitude is how it elevates relationships. When you're grateful, you notice the efforts of others, you acknowledge the kindness they give, and you express appreciation instead of entitlement. That deepens bonds, builds trust, and makes people feel valued. Gratitude is contagious. When you express it, others feel encouraged to do the same. It creates a cycle of positivity where love, kindness, and generosity multiply. Without gratitude, relationships weaken under the weight of complaints, demands, and taken for granted moments. But with gratitude, even simple interactions become moments of joy and connection. Gratitude also rewires your brain. Science shows that consistent gratitude practice increases dopamine and serotonin, and feel-good chemicals that boost mood and overall well-being. It literally trains your mind to look for the good instead of scanning constantly for the negative. Over time, this rewiring builds optimism, reduces stress, and increases resilience. Gratitude journals, spoken affirmations, or even silent acknowledgements of small blessings can gradually shift your mental framework. You become someone who wakes up and says, "I have enough, I am enough, life is enough." That shift creates inner peace no achievement can replace. At its core, gratitude is a choice, not a reaction. It is deciding to focus on what you have instead of what you lack, on what went right instead of what went wrong, on what you can do instead of what you cannot. Gratitude teaches you that happiness isn't a destination you reach when everything finally aligns. It is a way of living, available right now in every circumstance. Gratitude transforms your perspective because it makes you realize you've already been given more than enough reasons to smile. Even in hardship, even in uncertainty, gratitude whispers, "There is still beauty here." And when you listen to that whisper, happiness stops being a fleeting feeling and becomes a steady state of being. Connection fuels lasting happiness. True joy grows when you open your heart and nurture genuine relationships. At our core, we are wired for connection. Human beings are not meant to live in isolation, yet so many today suffer because of loneliness, mistrust, and surface-level interactions. We chase achievements, wealth, and recognition thinking they will make us happy. But over time we realize that the deepest sense of fulfillment comes from the bonds we create with others. When you open your heart and allow yourself to build genuine connections, you begin to experience a type of happiness that external success alone can never provide. These connections remind you that you are seen, heard, and valued, not for what you do, but for who you are. That level of acceptance creates an unshakable joy. Lasting happiness is never about possessions, but about people. You can buy things, but you cannot purchase love, loyalty, or authentic companionship. A warm conversation, a reassuring smile, or the presence of someone who genuinely cares about you can bring more peace than material success ever will. Studies have shown that people with strong social bonds live longer, healthier, and more fulfilled lives. This is because love and connection fuel the soul the way food fuels the body. Without them, life feels hollow, no matter how decorated with accomplishments it may be. To nurture this kind of happiness, you must first drop the walls around your heart. Fear of rejection, past betrayals, or insecurities often keep people guarded. But walls not only block out pain, they also block out love. Lasting joy comes when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to let others in, and to invest in building relationships rooted in trust. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the courage to show your true self, knowing that only by being real can you experience real love. Another truth about happiness through connection is that it grows when you give, not just when you receive. When you show kindness, listen deeply, or offer support without expecting anything in return, you create bonds that enrich both lives. Happiness multiplies when shared. Think of the times you helped a friend in need, comforted someone through pain, or simply celebrated another person's win. In those moments, their joy became your joy. This is the magic of connection. It expands beyond yourself. But connection requires intentional effort. In a busy world filled with distractions, people often neglect their relationships. They scroll on phones instead of engaging in meaningful conversations. They prioritize work deadlines over family dinners. They forget to check on friends until months pass. Happiness suffers when connection is ignored. If you want to experience true joy, you must choose to nurture relationships daily. Through small acts of love, consistent presence, and genuine care. It's also important to choose the right connections. Not every relationship fuels happiness. Some drain your energy and disturb your peace. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift, encourage, and respect you is essential. Healthy relationships are built on mutual growth, not exploitation. When you spend time with those who genuinely want the best for you, happiness flows effortlessly because you no longer have to pretend. You can simply be yourself. In the end, happiness through connection is about quality, not quantity. You don't need hundreds of friends or constant social gatherings. Even one or two authentic relationships can bring more joy than a crowd of superficial ones. True happiness is found when you sit across from someone who understands you, when you share silence without awkwardness, and when you know someone will stand by you through both victories and struggles. That is the kind of bond that lights up life. So, if you want lasting happiness, open your heart, let people in. Be genuine, give love freely, and nurture the connections that bring out the best in you. Joy doesn't live in isolation, it lives in togetherness. Real happiness grows when you stop chasing it in empty places and start building it in the depth of human connection. Real conversations bring healing because they are more than just words being exchanged. They are moments of truth, vulnerability, and connection. When two people sit across from each other and truly listen, the walls begin to crumble. In a world that constantly pulls us toward distraction, where phones, schedules, and noise compete for our attention, genuine conversation has become rare. Yet, it is in these rare moments that the soul feels safe. To be fully present with another person, to listen not with the intent to reply but with the intent to understand, is one of the greatest gifts we can offer. Healing begins the moment someone feels heard, because feeling heard affirms that their pain, joy, or struggle matters. It reminds them they are not invisible, and in that recognition, healing flows. Too often, we underestimate the power of sincerity. A simple, "How are you really?" asked with patience can unlock emotions someone has been holding in for years. Words have weight, but presence carries even greater strength. When you silence the urge to interrupt or fix, and instead create space for someone to pour their heart out, you give them room to breathe. That space becomes a sanctuary, and that sanctuary allows wounds, emotional, mental, even spiritual, to begin closing. Real conversations don't demand solutions. They offer companionship on the path of struggle. And sometimes knowing we're not walking alone is enough to lighten the heaviest burdens. Healing also flows when honesty is present. Many conversations remain shallow because people fear judgment. They stay on the surface, exchanging pleasantries, but never diving deep enough to expose what truly hurts or what truly excites them. Yet when someone finally chooses to speak their truth without a mask, and the other responds with acceptance rather than criticism, something shifts. Trust begins to take root. That trust creates a bond strong enough to carry secrets, fears, and dreams alike. This is why some of the most healing conversations happen late at night, when defenses are down and words flow without pretense. They don't need to be perfect or polished, they just need to be real. Real conversations are also mirrors. They reflect back to us what we sometimes cannot see in ourselves. A gentle reminder from a friend that you are stronger than you realize, or a caring challenge to change a harmful pattern, can be the spark that sets healing in motion. These words may not always be easy to hear, but when spoken with love, they cut through the fog of confusion and guide us toward clarity. Healing often requires truth, and truth lands best when delivered in sincerity. That is why conversations that challenge and comfort at the same time are among the most powerful forms of medicine for the heart. But real conversations are not just about the words spoken. They are also about silence. The pauses between sentences, the moments of eye contact, the shared stillness that says, "I am here with you." Silence, when shared in trust, communicates more than any phrase could. It reassures the other person that they don't need to perform. They don't need to explain, they simply need to be. In that shared stillness, healing multiplies because for once a soul feels safe to simply exist without judgment or demand. The impact of these conversations lasts far beyond the moment. Days later, a person may remember how it felt to be listened to without interruption, to be understood without being dismissed. That memory becomes a seed of healing, reminding them that they are worthy of care and connection. Over time, those seeds grow into strength, resilience, and self-worth. And when two people repeatedly engage in such conversations, their bond becomes unshakable. Together, they create a safe harbor where both can return whenever life feels overwhelming. In truth, healing conversations are not complicated. They don't require grand speeches or perfect advice. They require presence, patience, and sincerity. They demand that we step outside our own egos and make space for another soul to be seen. And in doing so, not only do we help heal others, but we also heal parts of ourselves. Because in the process of giving attention, love, and understanding, we receive it too. Real conversations are the bridges that carry us over isolation and back into connection. And it is on that bridge where true healing takes place. Happiness has never been about chasing perfection, waiting for the right moment, or holding out for the flawless future we imagine. It begins here, in this very breath, when you accept that life will always carry its storms, but you still have the power to decide how you stand in the rain. Every response you choose, every thought you nurture, every reaction you tame is a brushstroke painting the canvas of your joy. The truth is, happiness is not an accident. It is a practice, a discipline, a way of living. It is built through the quiet power of habits, through gratitude that shifts your eyes from scarcity to abundance, through patience that softens the rough edges of life, and through awareness that pulls you back into the present moment. Happiness also grows in the space between souls. It blossoms when you choose to open your heart, when you give instead of withhold, when you nurture connections that carry meaning. No amount of money, status, or recognition can compare to the warmth of being understood, valued, and loved. Real joy is found in the simple act of showing up for others, listening deeply, speaking truthfully, and creating conversations that heal rather than harm. In those moments, you discover that happiness is not just yours alone, it multiplies when shared. So, as you walk away from this message, remember this: happiness is not out there waiting for you to stumble upon it. It is here, waiting for you to create it. It is in your choices, your habits, your perspective, your connections, and your willingness to live with an open heart. You are the architect of your joy. Stop waiting for life to be perfect, and start living as if happiness is already within you, because it is. And once you embrace that truth, no storm, no circumstance, and no challenge will have the power to take it away.